Well, good morning. Happy Friday to you. It is Spatial Friday, Spatial Short Talk Day today. I haven't had much chance to do these this week. It's been a busy week. Um, Before I jump in, I hope you saw a couple of the photos that I posted. We've had 6 inches of snow in the mountains here earlier in the week, and it's amazing. If you're in Utah or you're planning to visit here, this is a great time to be here. The weather's wonderful, and the yellows, the reds, with the white, with the snow is just phenomenal. So if you go up Little Orbit Canyon, you're in for a treat. So what are we talking about today? I'm just going to do a little bit of a sort of a dive into three areas today, actually. Just some reflections on the week. First thing is, I back in the day, some while ago, I started talking about Geospatial 2.0. This is a number of years ago. Some of you that watch this will remember that. And it was really my aha moment was really a couple of things for Geospatial 2.0. It was partly the fact I was realizing that we had these new sensors, which is part of the remote sensing Earth observation world, where we could actually now start collecting all sorts of different types of data from all different sorts of different places. That's really revolutionized the data collection, processing and analytics. And actually, let me add to that, not only are we now collecting that data, we've now got AI to automate that journey, that latter part, the processing and analytics. So we were in this sort of place where I realized that things were changing. We weren't just talking anymore about 2D maps. We were beginning to think about 3D maps. We're beginning to get 4D stuff coming in. And a lot of that was automated. We now had the ability to no longer just manually collect data on an iPhone, for example. We could fly it, we could drive it, we could get it from a satellite, etc. So that was really the journey with Geospatial 2.0. I realized the industry was changing, and I look back, and it was exactly right. We're now seeing all of this stuff come through, and these changes. And frankly, people are still wondering what to do with all this data and how to best leverage AI. So lots of chat about that. But I think where I've moved to now after these years is start talking about spatial, and you'll see that I work for a company called Spatial Advisors, not Geospatial Advisors. There's been a lot of talk about spatial computing, thanks to Apple and some of the other guys that are doing artificial intelligence, VR and XR, all these Rs that are coming out. So I think that spatial is a term that I'm increasingly using. And just those definitional things. I mean, spatial is a term that's obviously used within the word geospatial, but spatial obviously means space or located somewhere. Geo means Earth, so it means it actually has a coordinate, for example. So that's the difference between the two. Spatial is really the overarching umbrella term. Geospatial fits within that. So why is that important? Well, obviously, we don't always necessarily need to have an address attached to a particular object. Where might that be? Well, stuff that's not on the Earth, the relative locations of satellites is one that comes straight to my mind. But there's lots of good examples of that. But also, if we're modeling things on the Earth, I mean, think of digital twin. We don't necessarily need, if we build a digital twin of a city, we don't necessarily need to plot that in the real world. We can actually see all of the things that is a digital twin without them actually having real addresses. It can be relative addresses. So there's a lot of room to play in that spatial world, and I think that there is going to be a massive connection between the spatial world and the geospatial world. And I think that just as data and AI is driving the geospatial world forward, which is where I've come from, I think the spatial world is also going to do the same thing. So there's a lot to come there. And when we start thinking about smart glasses, and I'm particularly interested in augmented reality. I posted something yesterday. Meta and Ray-Ban have got together to produce these smart glasses. Next year, those glasses will have augmented reality built into them. So what you're looking at, you'll actually get information about it. You'll look at a shop and you'll get information about when does it close, what do they serve, even a menu in the glasses. I don't know. A historical monument, you'll get information about that, the height of the mountain. But it's what you're looking at that's going to be driving the information you're getting. The question I've got for folks to think about is, where does that data come from? Where does that data come from? If you know what your eyes are looking at, somewhere you've got to get data from about that object that you're looking at. My suspicion is that's going to come from the geospatial world. So there's a lot to come there. I'm very interested in that, and I'm actually writing a paper on this at the minute, so look out for that. So that's point number one, the spatial geospatial world. Second point is Aravind, who's and I can't pronounce Aravin's last name, unfortunately. I'm not going to try because I'll butcher it. Aravind is one of the leading experts in Earth observation. I watched an interview with him on Behind Maps, and it was one section of it I wanted to mention in this talk. I've often wondered about the services that are provided within a spatial/geospatial world by different vendors. And he breaks it down beautifully in 5 places, and I wanted to mention them. So first of all, the data providers, those actually collect the data and process the data. And I've spoken about that before, those that kind of deliver that stuff into the gas stations, that's the fuel. The second one is a platform, and that essentially is the gas station in that analogy. Platforms are often those places where you can access data, you have tools to work with data. So that's the second piece to those that are providing solutions in that world. The third place is insights, and the third place is analytics. Now, I've often been confused about analytics. I have to admit, people talk about spatial analytics, geospatial analytics, all that good stuff. I'm like, okay, where does that fit into the big picture? The aha moment I had when I was listening to Aravind speaking was, I'm going to just take a quick sip of this coffee because I've got a sore throat. Analytics is providing extra information on top of that sort of raw data. So if you processed an image, this is an example that came to mind as I was listening to him. You've processed an image, it's a satellite image, for example, and you've used artificial intelligence and human labor, human expertise to isolate the 5 trees in that picture, and you've marked them. That's analytics. Analytics takes that raw data or that raw process data and provides extra information on top of that. But the next level is where that becomes useful. It's all well and good knowing that there are 10 trees in a particular image. But what's actionable about it? Where does the intelligence come from that helps you do something about it? And I know actionable is used a lot, but it's really not applied that much. And the fourth one in his sort of description is insights, which is intelligence. But that's really where everything is key, is the insights pieces, where you take all of that data, you take the analytics, and you actually provide actionable pieces to that. People want to know, what should I do now? Tell me what to do now, the magic button. And that's the insights piece. And I don't think that insight is used. It's much spoken about, and I don't see enough focus in that particular area, because at the end of the day, end users are most interested in that. The fifth part of his sort of the sort of world of offerings is applications, which are essentially the products, and that may well be that could be any of the what I've just described, but applications is the stuff that we pitch, the stuff that we sell, the stuff that we can sort of, the touchy-feely thing that is actually describable. So he's got those 5 areas of interest, and he's defined the vendor world in those 5 ways. And I thought it was a really nice way to kind of separate things out. Some folks are sort of in that mixed group of those things, but more often than not, they're focused in those particular areas. And I think the most valuable of those places is the insights place. And again, that might be an application that people are getting insights through an application. So the 4th and the 5th ones may be sort of very well connected. So I thought that was interesting. The last thing, and I don't want to go too long, it's meant to be a short talk. I find it fascinating how our industry, and again, I'm broadening this, not just geospatial, but spatial, is so technology led. I've worked with and for folks, and I've looked at things that seem quite obvious from a commercial perspective, but more often than not, they're led by technologists and engineers and folks that see the world through a technical perspective. And it always reminds me of that film Field of Dreams, where if we build it, they will come. And I always thought that was a myth that most people realized was incorrect, but it isn't. And it's quite interesting to some of the explorations we've done on the spatial advisor side of things, where we kind of come in and help folks understand the landscape, build their go-to-market, all those basic business things. How do you communicate, the sales and marketing journey, all that good stuff. Quite often we come across folks that are technology CEOs, for example, or a team of guys that are engineers, and they have that perspective that the technology will sell the solution, the technology will sell the product. And I think it's one of the reasons why technology in general, and particularly the geospatial world, has struggled, and why so many startups go out of business, because they haven't done the basic building blocks of technology, because they don't realize that they need it. And it's that kind of it's that business conversation where you think there is a need out there. I mean, clearly there is a need in small to medium-sized businesses to actually build out the foundational commercial pieces, be sales-led, not technology-led. But it's an unrealized need, and that's kind of fascinating, actually. That's kind of, as I turn over stones in the world of sort of the commercial side of things, and I've lived in half of my life in the technical world, half of my life in the commercial world. I used to have that mindset that if you build it, they will come, and I'm surprised that I'm still seeing that as a very, very common approach to the world that we inhabit. And it's a shame because so many great ideas, so many great technologies fail because they don't get a product market fit, as they often describe, for what they're building. So anyway, 3 reflections today. I hope your Friday is beautiful, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. More to come next week. If you like this, please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn, and if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, and more of this to come. So thanks for watching.